RFK Jr. is ripping it up. He's telling the truth about foreign policy. Here he describes accurately how the U.S. government has used Ukraine for a proxy war. You ready? Here we go.
Philosopher said that the U.S. strategy should be to suck Russia into a series of wars in little countries where we can then exhaust them. Lloyd Austin, who is the President Biden's defense secretary, in April 2022 said, our purpose for being in the Ukraine is to degrade the Russian army, to exhaust it and degrade its capacity to fight anywhere in the world. Well, that is the opposite of a humanitarian mission. That is a war of attrition, and that's what it's turned out to be. We have now turned Ukraine into an abattoir that has devoured 350,000 young Ukrainians. They are lying about how many people have died. They're concealing it from us. They're concealing it from the Pentagon's concealing it from the American people. The Ukraine is concealing it from them people, but 350,000 people. Russians are killing Ukrainians at a ratio of 7 to 1. And we have turned that poor little nation into, just a killing field for these idealistic young kids. And in order to advance a geopolitical agenda that, has nothing to do with the Ukraine.
Show me another candidate for office that's talking like that about the Ukraine war, telling the truth about exactly what our foreign policy is and how we've been trying to suck Russia into a series of wars over smaller countries to bleed them dry. Exactly what he said. It's a war of attrition. These aren't humanitarian wars. Of course they're not. I swear to God, I can't get over how fucking stupid comedians are I talk to. They really think that we're there fighting Putin and bad people, and we're the good guys. It's mind blowing. After the last 20 years, you could look around and go, "You really think we're the good guys?"
We had the best intentions and all that stuff, Jimmy.
By the way, he called it an abattoir. Could you catch that word? That's a French word.
No.
It means something ugly, like a bidet or Gerard Depardieu. Come on. He pimps foie gras. Oh, yeah. Anyway. Ignorance. By the way, I've heard foie gras is not as bad as they made it out to be. But historical events that led to the start of the Ukraine conflict. U.S. and NATO are completely responsible for the war in Ukraine. The conflict in Ukraine has exposed the double standards of the West. That well said. But don't try to bring up history, pal. What are you doing bringing up history unless you want to mention that World War II justified permanent U.S. empire? But if you do that, don't mention that Russia was on our side and helped, or that Ukraine fought with Hitler.
Yeah, keep that down.
Don't bring that up. Here's more.
About what they want. They want NATO to make a pledge to not come into the Ukraine, which we should have done. We shouldn't have put NATO into 14 countries. We told the Russians when they dismantled the Soviet Union in 1991, and they moved 400,000 troops out of East Germany, and they allowed NATO to reunify Germany under NATO. And they said our condition for doing that, this tremendous conciliation that we're making, is that you never move NATO to the east. And George Bush told them, we will not move NATO 1 inch to the east. And in 1997, Zbigniew Brzezinski laid out the plan, which has then happened, where we moved it not 1 inch, but 1,000 miles to the east, 14 nations, and then we put Aegis missile systems in Poland and Romania, which are nuclear capable. So they're a few minutes from Russia. They can decapitate the entire Russian leadership before, if we wanted to start a preemptive war.
So that was Brzezinski. That was Morning Mika Brzezinski's father.
Yeah.
From the Morning Joe show. He's the architect of this atrocity?
Yeah, right.
Does Morning Joe know about this?
I don't know.
Because I'm sure he would say something about this conflict of interest in the Morning Joe Ukraine reporting if only he knew.
Yeah. Did they keep this from Morning Joe? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
Here we go.
And that is inexcusable. I mean, we wouldn't live with that. My uncle did not live with that in 1962. We would have gone in. If they hadn't removed them from Cuba, we would have gone in.
Oh, God. Here he goes, bringing up his family again. All the time with the Cuban this and that. Jeez.
Will, listen, I don't want to hear anything about your family for 75 years. What don't you get? There'll be time enough to listen to that shit when we're all dead.
And then we overthrew the democratically elected government, Viktor Yanukovych in
Ukraine.
2014. We spent $5 billion. The CIA through USAID and the National Endowment for Democracy spent $5 billion to violently overthrow that government, and which was democratically elected. So we destroyed this democracy and put in our own government, which we now know the neocons in the White House, Victoria Nuland, selected 2 months before in a telephone. So we handpicked a new government before the coup. We put a new government in that immediately makes a civil war against the Russian population of Donbass, bans the Russian language, kills 14,000 of them, and then starts training with NATO. And there were a lot of provocations. It's not just me saying this. George Kennan, who is the architect of, the entire Cold War containment policy, said in 1998, the year after Brzezinski wrote that memo, he said, it is the greatest calamity ever to expand NATO to the east. He said, Russia lost the Cold War. The people who are running Russia are the ones who oppose the Cold War. We should be making friends with them. We shouldn't be pushing them into the hands of China.
Shouldn't be pushing them into the hands of China, which is exactly what they're doing. Again, they're doing every dumb, stupid thing. And look at that. Isn't it amazing? So there's only going to be one person telling the truth. Maybe Cornel West will also on Ukraine. We'll see. I haven't heard him talk about it.
Well, all these people, they all think it's inevitable that we're going to have a war with China at some point.
Right?
That it's a foregone conclusion, which is like a way to... I remember Bill Maher saying how Christians believe the end of the world's coming and they try to make it happen and they need to grow up.
Yeah.
Never said that to the people come on his show that are literally going to make the world end for not religious reasons, just for oil on purpose. But there's nobody who's like, oh, is there a scenario we don't have to ever have a war with China? Like, no, we're going to have to. We're going to have it out with them. There's only so much stuff. We need the rest of it.
Hey, everybody, only $10 to go see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny, at jimmydore.com. And come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Bakersfield, California, Baltimore, San Francisco, Huntington Beach, Rosemont, and Chicago, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, and more. We're going to be in New York, Stamford, Connecticut, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, San Diego, everywhere. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all our tickets.